Hello, everybody. Welcome to youtube.com. Let me preface this by saying that this was something we had this great idea when quarantine started where we were going to get together, I don't know, weekly or maybe twice a month and have this great conversation. And then my face stopped working. So here we are 3 months later. Thanks, Ophira and Dan, for joining me again.
Pleasure. How's your face? It looks, I'm going to say something really stupid. It looks good.
It's not stupid. No, it's getting there. Let's work around to that. We'll go through like what the last 3 months have been like in all of our respective lives. But first, I wanted to introduce our guest, Keith Knight. Keith, thank you for joining us.
I'm sorry. I would rather hear about how your face stopped working.
Oh, okay.
Like you can't open with that and then
Sure.
suddenly go, oh, we'll just talk about that later.
I thought maybe we talk to the guy who has a TV show now, but sure, let's talk about me.
Everybody gets a TV show nowadays. I want to know how your face stopped working.
Okay, so let me back up 3 months. So we started doing these live videos, and I was actually doing one with a friend of mine who lives in Spain, and during the conversation, my speech started getting a little bit slurred, but I didn't really end up thinking too much of it. I thought it was late here, early her time, and I went to bed and woke up the next morning, and half of my face was just completely frozen.
Wow.
This was in Queens, New York at the late March, early April. So we were the epicenter of the entire world. And I waited it out a day. I went to the urgent care around the corner, and I was diagnosed with Bell's palsy, which means, it means half of my face stopped working. So I was prescribed some steroids, and honestly, nothing really happened for the better part of about 2 months. And then and I actually credit acupuncture with this. I'm like a super acupuncture believer guy now. I swear to God, I am drinking tea right now that was prescribed to me by my acupuncturist. I'm like 100% on board with acupuncture now because my face is it's coming back. It's not 100%. I can do this eyebrow a little bit better. This is the smile, but that wasn't happening at all about 6 weeks ago.
Wow, that's amazing. That is, but acupuncture, yeah, man, it works. It works.
Has anyone here been on the acupuncture bed before?
I have.
The acupuncture.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, everybody has done acupuncture. Okay, so I was the weirdo until this happened.
Huge believer.
Yeah, I guess I didn't believe it enough to keep going with it as I sit here right now being like, how many years has it been? But at the time that I went for a specific problem, and I felt like I had immediate results, and I loved it.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. That's the thing. It's like, even if you don't think it's going to work, it's still like, I don't know. It's still pins in you. And we have a chiropractor that we go to, and he's very, he's not doing acupuncture, but I just love when he hits pressure points and other stuff moves. He's just, do you feel this? Like when I press down here, you move somewhere else, and it's just, it's very interesting. It's very interesting.
I feel like they should use the Keith tagline. Even if it doesn't work, there's still pins in you.
Exactly. Come on, it doesn't work. Don't you want to see some needles just sticking out of you?
I did. I had a moment. It's like a doctor or dentist or anything else. It's a bad sign when your acupuncturist starts freaking out. I got a needle stuck, which apparently is a super uncommon thing. I was like looking at. I can see Dan's face. I was looking on Reddit, which is a very accurate scientific community.
What are you doing?
And an acupuncturist on there said that she had been practicing for 20 years and it had happened once. in her career.
Wow.
Apparently the muscle doesn't want to let go, or the fibers don't want to let go. They still want it in there more, so it gets stuck and she can't physically remove it, so you got to stick another needle like slightly to the right of it. But it was terrifying because it
You
was
have to
it was
trick
just yeah, you kind of have to like get the next part in the chain of the muscle, and then it sort of it goes boop.
God,
Yeah.
like a hungry monster.
Wow. I don't know. I credit Hellraiser for turning America onto
That's right.
acupuncture. So
It's about
there
the
you go.
pleasure and the pain.
It is.
Yeah, I feel like there should be, has there ever been like are there forensic chiropractors or
Forensic, like for the dead, or what?
no, like for criminal behavior. Like, couldn't you
Oh,
tell a lot about someone?
I
I
don't
I
know.
bet you could. I bet you could cure people of a lot of things, like criminal behavior, through acupuncture. I'm sure.
Are you talking about curing people, or are you talking about like getting secrets out of people by sticking needles into them?
Well, I guess I'm trying to think of it from the point of view of, let's say someone's a suspect.
Yeah.
And if you, like in acupuncture, if they're like, no, I was not there and that never happened to me and I didn't see any of that, and blah, 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 and through acupuncture or chiropractic.
Oh yeah. That's called torture.
Yeah.
Special.
No.
What if it was like acupuncture but with water, like a lot of water instead of needles on the face?
No, but if you could be like, I could tell they had some trauma, or I don't know, I could tell by the way they were clearly like, in a small space, or they were clearly pushing up against something, That's what I mean.
I don't know, but is Hulu looking for more original programming, Keith? Because I feel like Ophira Eisneberg, acupuncturist, forensic. That sounds like a Hulu show, doesn't it?
It does.
So Keith,
Here's the problem
Yeah.
with Zoom is that this just seems like my favorite show I'm watching on my laptop. You three are terrific. I keep forgetting that I can talk.
Dan's brilliant idea for the live stream was to just show the first season of Woke in its entirety, but I'm told that we would be breaking some kind of copyright.
That was such a bad joke because, like, as somebody who's involved in lots of projects where that joke is not a funny joke, I should completely know better. But I just thought everybody would be like, "Oh yeah, the irony joke. I get it." Instead, everybody's just like, "Has this guy ever fucking worked on a project?"
Yeah, we can do
That's
that.
not cool if we're doing this live.
This guy is never working on Zoom again. So Keith, I was going to ask you, do you remember where we were and what we were doing the last time we spoke to each other?
Well, when you totally traumatized me with bringing up that $35 hamburger. That's what I remember now most of my trip to New York, was waiting and waiting and waiting for this $35 hamburger. And
it was like we conducted the entire interview in the time that it took for the hamburger to get to you.
Where was it?
It was because it was Keith was tabling at Mocha, which is it's now kind of midtown, way far on the west side. And I think it was like a hotel restaurant. Is that right? Was it the restaurant in your hotel?
Yeah, fancy hipster hotel restaurant.
Yeah.
And
near like 10th Avenue or what have you.
Right.
And they just forgot. They forgot I was there, I guess. And I don't know if I knew it was a $35 hamburger. I don't know if I can't remember whether I found out it was $35 and I was like, oh my God, but there was no decent food anywhere else. So I spent $35, but I think Mocha paid for it. I think that's what happened, but it wasn't worth it. Let's just say that it was not worth it.
Well, good news. That place is definitely closed.
Yeah.
There you go.
Are you saying because COVID took care of it?
Yeah, there's no way that's like a hotel
Yeah,
gonna have a problem in
sure.
Midtown.
You know, it was worth it. The pandemic was worth it.
The essential $35 hamburger.
The reason why I bring that story up, Keith, is because I seem to remember that while we were doing the interview for the podcast, you were kind of talking about how you had this pilot for Hulu, and I think I was kind of like, oh yeah, I'm sure that's going to be, like in the same way that like every cartoonist has had either some sort of like script or pilot at some point, and here we are. It's coming out in about 2 weeks.
Yeah. No, it's funny too, because that trip to Mocha, so many cartoonists came up to me and were like, I can't believe you actually had the pilot shot. Like, I can't tell you how many things that I've developed, or, and it's never gone to script, or it's gone to script and then it never went to pilot. But the fact that you actually shot a pilot, that was when I realized that I had done something, we had gone farther than most. I was like, oh, wow, okay. So this is kind of cool. We made it this far.
Like people say it's a shot in the dark that it's even going to happen. You got the shot in the dark, the shot in the dark, the shot in the dark.
Seriously, like that's, every hoop we jumped over, every time we went to the next level. My writing partner, Marshall Todd, he's been in the industry for 15 years. And so he was the cynical one. And every time we had a big meeting with the Hulu execs or the Sony execs, he was like, this is when they pull the plug, man. This is when they pull the plug. And I'd be like, I don't know. Like, I don't think they'd pull the plug if everybody was going to be on there like that, just like, and it just we kept on getting over each hump. And and then finally, I knew we had a show once he stopped being cynical, because he kept on saying, I've never been this far before. I've never been this far before. So it was really funny. It's really cool.
I just like that while you were describing how there are so many sort of hoops to get through, and how it takes so much time, and most folks don't get through all of them. I just saw 3 boxes of heads going. We were all just like, yeah.
How's your Hulu pilot going, Dan?
Yeah, it's I don't even know what pilot it is at this point. I've seen the trailer, of course, the long version of the trailer with "Ain't Got Time" by that Tyler track from Flower Boy.
Oh, yeah.
It just
Tyler, the creator.
Amazing. Like that, the show just looks so fun. It looks. I can't wait for the 9th. I can't wait to.
They did a great job with cutting the trailer, and I'm so glad they picked Tyler. Like, there's so many amazing things that happened where just I've just been lucky enough to sort of surround myself with all these talented people. Like, personally, I've been doing this for so long, drawing comics, and I've always known that at some point I'd get something developed, but I thought it would be some sleazy, indie film outfit out of Vegas, and they're like, we ran out of money, so we're gonna fund it through this, and it's gonna wind up on public access somewhere. But the fact that like just the actors, Lamorne and Blake Anderson and T. Murph and all the voice cast, we got so many amazing people doing Cedric the Entertainer and Nicole Biner and Jack McBrayer and all these different amazing people. And the director, Mo Marable, like everything is just came together.
I had that moment. I told you I watched the first couple episodes, and I had the moment it was Cedric specifically, where I was like, oh, they got somebody who sounds just like Cedric to voice, I think maybe a trash can. Is that right?
Yeah, it's amazing. And the funny thing is Marshall Todd, the guy who co-wrote the pilot with me, he co-wrote the original Barbershop. So this scene, which is happening outside the barbershop, which, it has one of the original actors from that movie, being the trash can and voicing the trash can. So there were so many full circle things that were going on in it. We had to shoot the show in Vancouver. It's supposed to be San Francisco, but they wouldn't it was too expensive to shoot in San Francisco. I shouldn't say they wouldn't give us enough money, but they didn't. But we shot on a lot of the stuff on this street that was called Kiefer Street, Keefer. And, my character in the show was called Keith, not Keith. And as we were shooting, the bus came down the street. And the bus was the 22, and it was the night bus, KNIGHT. So there's a lot of bizarre things like that just was going on all through the production. We were like, wow, this is really weird. This is really bizarre. But it was magical. It was really cool. Just fun.
I feel like as a Canadian and as someone who's lived in Vancouver, everything that's of any worth shoots in Vancouver, first of all.
You got that. You got that Young Archie show.
Oh, yeah.
Riverdale.
So it was
Bates
so
Motel.
nice. The staff, the people that worked on the show, they were like, there were so many people that were really nice, and they'd say, "Oh man, like this is really cool that we're like, a lot of the shows that we shoot, or they don't really mean anything." Like they were saying, this is like a show that has really great subject matter and everything. And those Archie kids have a pretty bad reputation with the locals in Vancouver.
Really?
It's an example of, they just said it's like a bunch of young people, with a lot of money. And, I think they're just acting like they're going to have a job in 10 years, like acting like it's going to last.
Right.
And that's what people are saying. And they're just like really obnoxious. So
I feel like you as a grizzled veteran cartoonist needs to just sit down with them and tell them about the harsh realities of life.
Also, there's nothing better than a cartoonist well known for great autobio trashing Archie. Like, I feel like this is why we're here.
I'm not trashing Archie. I'm trashing the actor.
I know.
No, but just listen. I would, if this happened to me when I was in my 20s, I would have been doing the same exact thing. I'm sort of glad that whatever is happening now, where I can actually really take stock in it and just like look around and be thankful and be like, wow, this is really cool. This is that thing I was, hoping that would happen, and it's happening, So, it's humbling and really cool, and I'm happy that it's happening now.
How super surreal is it? I mean, it's, obviously it's surreal getting a show done, but like, I've been following your work for a long time. This is ostensibly a show about you. It's about a cartoonist named Keith. His artwork is very clearly your artwork. What is it like being there in Vancouver on the shoot and just seeing this like slightly altered mirror reflection of yourself?
For me, I was just so psyched to know that I was giving all these people work. I was employing, hundreds of people. So I just remember first walking into the production office, and it was great. They blew up all of these of my comics and put them up on the wall, and the color, they painted everything like the color schemes of my color comics, and they woke really big. And it was just, it was really just surreal. But every day I would just walk through the whole place, and I would talk to the props people, and I would talk to the set makers, and I would talk to the costume people, and I'd even talk to the accountants, who were the most sour, we're over budget, we can't do this. But I just loved just taking it all in and just being like, wow, this is really, I really find, because you just don't know if it's ever going to happen again. So it's just like, let me take stock in this. Let me enjoy it. and also let me be a huge part of it. And this was the thing that was super important to me, because I would always hear of people who would sell something to Hollywood and then they would get mad because Hollywood took it and did something bad to it or something like that. And I wanted to make sure that if they were going to screw up my stuff, I wanted to be part of that screw up. I wanted to be right there, and I wanted to see how it got screwed up, where it got screwed up, and all that type of stuff. And so it was super important for me to be a part of it. And that was, it was really weird sitting in the writer's room and everyone's talking about my character. It's just like, it was sort of, what's it called? A midlife crisis. That's it. So instead of buying an expensive car, I got a TV show. And
But they didn't screw it up.
well, I mean, if they, yeah, I mean, I don't think even if we did screw it up, like this, I did it, and, so I would rather that I screwed it up and be like, well, I did what I thought, was the right thing, and I don't have regrets. But if I didn't have anything to do with it, and then the show came out and it failed, I'd be sitting there regretting everything for the rest of my life. So super important.
And you have new content in this weird world. I mean, clearly you were able to do this 6 months ago.
Yeah, just we lucked out. We finished shooting the show February 28th. Like the world shut down about a week and a half later. It was,
oh my,
we were so lucky. And it's funny because even in one of the episodes, episode 107, a lot of it takes place on a bus, and there's this one person on there with a face mask on, and one of the characters is like, and we got the patient zero over there, and she's got COVID or something, like we just wrote it in there, but like we had no idea that it was going to be this huge thing. It was crazy. Yeah. So
amazing.
I mean, obviously, the civil rights issues are always timely, but that's also something that certainly a lot more people are talking about right now. I mean, this is coming along right at the perfect time, it seems like.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people are saying like, how did you manage to time this so amazing, blah blah blah. You must have shot this. You must have shot this after George Floyd, and you CG'd all the face masks out, not everything, But here's the thing, like racism and police brutality is evergreen. It's like this would have been right on time at any time. It would have been right on time 10 years from now. It'd be right on time 20 years ago. Like I don't even know what to say. It's like it could have been any time. And that's the thing, is like the incident that it's about was based on an incident that happened to me 20 years ago. And so the fact that it's front and center right now, just shows you what the problem is. It's a huge problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is touched on in the first trailer, but the entire series is triggered by, I guess, a mistaken identity event.
Yeah, it's profiling. Yeah, it's basically profiling, and just the idea of, even if you're aware of that, when it happens to you, it's still traumatizing, no matter how much you know about it. Once it happens and goes, you and you don't have control, suddenly like your number comes up, and it's pretty hardcore, And what happened to me was not nearly as dramatically depicted in the show, but it's still, I had a stapler. And like if someone was just basically crazy trigger happy, there was plenty of excuses to take a shot at me, So it's pretty hardcore.
I'm gonna make you retell the story that you told my podcast, because Dan and I wanted to talk about anxiety a little bit and how it pertains to the past several months. But one of the things that I think that makes us all anxious are bathroom stories. And you had a really good bathroom story. Do you remember the one that you told on the show? Being on the bus.
Being on the bus. Oh, when I first moved to San Francisco.
That's right.
I didn't really know I had just moved to San Francisco, and when you don't know the lay of the land, like you've settled into a town when you know where the public bathrooms are, like when you're comfortable and all right, I can go into that store, I can go into that mall, I can go into that restaurant, and I can drop trow in there and it won't be a problem. Well, I ate at the wrong restaurant, and I was on the wrong bus in San Francisco, and I was in no man's land, and I was on this bus, and I had to go, and I saw this restaurant coming up, and I pulled the thing to get off, and when you're starting to get closer to a place, you just start letting loose.
Your body anticipates.
Yeah, your body anticipates it. And just as my body's anticipating it, I see the sign, and this is it was halfway down the street, and I could still see the sign, no public restrooms. And by that time, I had to get off the bus. It was just too late. So I get off the bus, and there's no way I can go into this restaurant. And so I ended up in a parking lot, and an open air parking lot between two cars. And there were office buildings around. So I'm sure everybody's looking at me. And the only thing I had a long coat on. So, and I just let loose. And the sad part is I had to wipe my ass with my zines, my comics. So there you go.
All right, I'm going to open the floor up if anybody else has any good bathroom stories they would like to share.
Well, I just think I want to say that what sort of amazes me, I'm working with a storyteller right now for a show that I'm working on, and one, I will say it amazes me how many of us have these stories, for the amount of sort of unspeakable anxiety or taboo or social shame or whatever that surrounds this whole thing. So many people have these stories, and so much so that it was difficult to find a unique one when 50 people sort of barraged us with those stories at a pitch recently. And one of these is unique, but strangely, I'm oddly comforted, Keith, that you brought this story up tonight, because I have been down this rabbit hole of researching exactly the effect that you just described. As the body nears a place where it knows it can take refuge, these neurological gastro cues start happening to tell the body, start getting ready to do this. We're totally green lit. We're rolling on runway.
Yeah, the plane.
Yeah,
things
exactly.
are going.
Yeah.
And I think
I like to call it brown lit instead of green lit.
The classic one I've heard is the turtle is peeking its head out.
But I have a lot of stories like that.
well,
I will. They won't be a bunch of poo stories, but
that'll be season 2 of Woke.
Yeah,
when Brian mentioned anxiety, I had no idea.
I didn't know where it was going either.
Yeah, I know we had an exchange earlier today where we were talking about anxiety, and I was You know, one thing I've learned in this kind of whatever we're calling it, lockdown or quarantine or staying in our place for 50 million years, is oh, I saw that guy. I
Wow,
saw that
that is
guy.
a ferocious looking animal. Doesn't look happy.
Looks friendly.
That's a sweet one.
Looks like he stole his picnic basket.
It was a hot day, so he was breathing through his mouth, very kind of panting. So at any rate, like one thing I've learned is that I've had a lot of anxiety attacks that I've never needed to have when I was out there doing stuff. And here in my living room, or in this case, a sort of workshop, I just realized like this is just not a lot of stuff. You don't have to freak out. Like, it's probably going to be okay. I don't know how I realized that. Because trust me, it's been years of 12-step programs and therapy and every other thing you could apply to that, acupuncture. But it really just kind of took sitting home for 5 months ago. Yeah, no, sometimes things don't work out and you just kind of go, oh, sorry, I had the wrong date and let's just make it happen on Tuesday or whatever. And in the past, I feel like I died 1,000 deaths. Now, that is not to say when you're new in a city and you're trucking towards a restaurant and things are going, I'm not trying to say like, trust me, Keith, you didn't need to freak out about that because I would have been freaking out about that.
And here's the thing. I was in a band for years, Marginal Prophets in San Francisco. And every time we played a show, outwardly, I would never be nervous, but inside, I would before a show, I'd have to go to the bathroom. And so I had to go to the bathroom in these club bathrooms. Like, and seriously, like I should have, taken pictures of some of the places that I went to the bathroom. Like unbelievable. I had to do, there were times where I had to have a band member like watch the door because there was like no door to the stall. And it was just, it was just a mess. And it was crazy. It was crazy, but
Makes that parking lot look pretty sweet.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But
I remember like based on that, I just remembered a bathroom story that I had, if you will indulge me. So when my first job when I moved to New York, I moved out here. I did a couple of internships, and the first like decently paying job I got was for Zagat, the restaurant rating organization. At the time they had a theater guide, so it was we would just go to the matinee, stand outside the shows, hand out these little cards, have people sign them, and then do the evening shows. And it was great because paid reasonably well for what it was, and there was like 6 hours of downtime in the middle of the day because there just weren't these shows happening. So I just moved to the city and like I could walk around and explore the city. But as Keith alluded to earlier, one of the issues with being in a new place is finding a bathroom. I finally found one. I don't know if this place is still around, but there used to be this little kind of bar restaurant right on Bowery and Broadway. It's where the NoHo Star is now. And
also gone, but yes.
Also gone, where the NoHo Star used to, as a very New York thing. There's like 3 places to go. I found this bar. Bars and hotels are the best places to go. Like I had to do the thing that Keith had to do. I run in there and I'm like, just sitting in the stall. Everything is going great so far. And then 2 people come in. And they're talking to, it's 2 dudes and they're talking to each other. And then they start yelling at each other. And then they get into a fight in this tiny 2-person bathroom, like urinal toilet. And they start grappling with each other. And one guy threw the other guy into the stall and the stall collapsed on me.
Oh my God.
So they I don't know, I guess they made up, or at least they both left. I had to wait. I had to finish my business and wait for them to leave, and just gingerly walk out of the bathroom with a stall on top of me.
Wow.
That's perfect that you're just trying to be as invisible as possible in its own way, and it's like, yeah. Mhm.
I think I was physically trying to make myself. It's just like even when like you're like in the stall doing that thing, and another person comes into the small bathroom, you don't want them to acknowledge you, let alone when one of them throws the other one into the stall.
Oh, that's amazing.
I guess I could tell mine.
Yes.
I think
Tell
you
it.
legally have to know.
Sad. Okay, so let's start as close to the end as possible. As Winston Churchill, who said that quote? Is it Winston Churchill or Oscar Wilde? That's who we say. Everyone says everything.
I think it was Mark Twain.
It's Mark Twain. I was at the Orlando airport. Already sad story. And I was extremely hungover, not proud of that. And I was going to a gig, and it was early in the morning, and nothing was open for food except for like a chicken wing, Buffalo chicken, Buffalo Bills chicken.
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Exactly. So I was like, yeah, fine. So I ordered some wings, and I was starving, and I was just shoving them in my mouth, and I eat very fast as it is because I'm the youngest of 6, so I just like I literally I don't even chew food often, and halfway through the second one I was like, does this taste weird? And then I was like, meh, and just swallow these wings, and clearly they were just rancid. Because then I went to board the plane, and I was like sweating really weird. And my stomach just ballooned out, and I was like, oh no, I don't feel well. And I went back to my seat and sat down, and I was just petrified. And you're not allowed to get out of your seat while they're doing all the beginning stuff. And I don't break rules, but I was just like, this is not good. And I was really close to the bathroom, and so I sort of had to think about like, if I just get there. And they had us like about to take off, and I was just like, nope. And I ran out, and I went to the bathroom, and I puked in the sink chicken wings. And because I ate so fast, kind of just chicken wings came out, like almost pristine. And then I also it was coming out the other end, and it stained my jeans a little bit, so that I had my pants off and my underwear, and I was trying to take all the stuff out of the sink and put it in the toilet of the chicken wings with paper towels so I could wash my jeans and my underwear to go back. And then the flight attendant started knocking on the door, and I was like, just a minute. They were like, you have to come out, we're about to take off, you have to come out. And I was like, just a minute. But I could not complete this task fast, and so they just opened the door with their magic key.
Oh my goodness.
No.
That is tough. There's so much, because you can't hide. You're inconveniencing 100 people, and
Wow.
that's tough. That's a tough one.
I have to say, for all of the twists and turns in that story, my favorite moment in that story was when you went, does that taste a little weird? Nah.
My favorite was when she said she wasn't a rule breaker, because I feel like diarrheaing on your seat is also at least breaking some written rule.
The worst.
Yeah, that's definitely a rule. I feel like Keith is gonna like talk to peers in the cartooning community and be like, listen, if you get a chance to do this Brian YouTube live,
just bring a shit story.
This is episode number 2.
There's a thing they do. They ask about your work for a minute, and then they're like, hey everybody, you know what it's time for.
I want to say for the record, and I think that very specifically, it's a story that everybody has, but I think it's a story that every cartoonist has, because I just read Adrian Tomine's new book, and there's a really good, pick that up. There is a great poop story in there.
Yeah. Well, I honestly think that it is the great common denominator. I think that yeah, like if we could base a religion on poo, and just like, I mean, the Pope poos, we all poo, and like,
Pope poos in the wood is
yeah, it's we would bridge a lot of. I think we could bring a lot of people together through that. So
I think
I was just saying one of these
Yeah.
things that they used to do where they're like, what is the one universal, thing that everyone laughs at, regardless of background or language? And it always came back to poo.
Right.
farting. Yeah.
I feel like the religion that Keith is sort of proposing is called camping. I feel like that is the one thing, like
Yeah.
I've always just felt like, man, if the whole world could just camp together just for like 4 days, everything would be solved. Because you instantly kind of understand everyone and are willing to meet everybody halfway when you're camping. I feel like it's a
I'd have to glamp. I'm not a camper. My wife loves camping.
You pooped in a parking lot, Keith. You could.
I like I'm more comfortable in an urban setting. There's not all these requirements to dig a hole and bury it and everything,
So
Just
did
wipe-
you go camping?
Oh, I've been camping, but like my favorite was in my wife's German, and we went to a glamp ground, like a camping place that had an arcade, it had a restaurant, it had like just all this great stuff, and they showed movies every night, and it was really fun. I enjoyed it, but there were no bears. It was very, very enjoyable.
And were you in tents or little cabins?
No, we were in like RVs that are parked there. You can rent an RV. I'm sure there were places where you can bring your own tent, or there's tent set up, but it was pretty elaborate. It was nice. That's all. But I know they started to open some up in North Carolina actually, before COVID hit. I don't know what kind of people are probably living there now permanently, but
right.
It's that's all the camping I want to do.
So we don't have a ton of time because we do have a hard out at 9. So Dan, you either need to tell a poop story or a camping story.
I'm gonna give you
both.
I'm gonna give you a real quick kind of abstract. I will say I was up to probably my chest in icy cold water in a river, wearing waders. It was late autumn, early winter. This was back in the day where I still I considered, well, my buddy and I, we were in, I think, like kind of Chelsea at that weird seafood restaurant that was on like 9th or 8th or whatever right there. It, like back in the day, used to be like this lobster place. We were in there, we were eating some seafood, because that makes sense when you're drinking a lot of tequila and smoking cigarettes. And we were like, this is nice. It only makes sense what we're doing. And at that point, my buddy said, what we should do? We should leave tonight to go fishing because we're supposed to leave tomorrow morning. And I go, obviously, like, because, this story makes a lot more sense if you just understand the fact that I've spent most of my life as a fucking idiot. And that involved a lot of drinking back then. And so I go, yeah, let's do it. So we leave and we're heading up to this river where we want to fish upstate. And we stop off like you do at a gas station just to get some candy like Skittles, whatever, sweet tarts, all that kind of stuff, couple of Red Bulls. It mixes with the tequila. It keeps you going. And then we slept in his car, again, as successful young men do. And we slept in his car. And the next day we just got up and it's not like there's really facilities around or anything. So you don't really brush your teeth. You don't really go to the bathroom. You just put on your gear. You just put on waders and boots and jacket and everything. You basically create a sort of biological container around your biological container. And everything has Velcro and tons of straps and everything. And you're like, all right, good, I'm in here. And then you submerge the body into cold water up to about the top of the digestive tract, right up in there. And then you just wait and see what happens. You just sort of go, well, you know what's interesting? All I know is that my friend Cam was like, he was probably like 20 yards upstream from me. And at one point he just saw me like throw my rod and throw my gear and start trying to sprint out of this river and like stumble and fall. And then he just watched as he was like, the fuck is happening? And I just sprinted from chest deep in a river up into the tree line. He was just like, I don't know what that was about. He threw all of his gear and just sprinted into the woods. He's like looking around going, is there a mountain lion, a bear? What the hell is
alligator?
Yeah, like what? And then metaphorically speaking, I joined Keith in the parking lot.
Able to disengage?
Yes. Well, thank you for reminding me. That was like, dude, that was the reality show component almost of this.
So you think you could shit in the woods?
It was like the weirdest like triathlon. Like you got to wade, sprint, hike up a mountain, and then just disrobe from the craziest contraptions as fast as humanly possible. And then the neurogastro cue of like, we're green lit, it's going. And you're like, no, we're not, dude. We have like 7 different belts and 4 different Velcro closures before we're good to go. So it was crazy, you know?
I think that's why that scene in Bridesmaids is so beautiful, that where she stops in the middle of the street in the wedding dress and just gives up, you know. It's such a great scene.
I was hoping to talk about, you know what? Okay, look, can I just say, as we're nearing the top of the hour to wrap things up, can I just say, of all the things I had hoped we were going to talk with Keith about, I was hoping to talk about, oh my God, your influences are everyone from Gary Trudeau to Charles Schultz to Chuck Jones. You know, I wanted to talk about, my God, you're the only single panel cartoonist who has made me laugh about both the Republican National Convention 2020 and Kenosha in one panel, a single panel.
Oh, thank you.
I was so dispirited and depressed during that last couple of days. And then in going down the rabbit hole before we spoke, I was just like, holy God, this dude just put my spirit back together and made me laugh. And I mean, you know, it's an old saw to say that to someone funny, like, oh, I didn't think anyone could make me laugh in that moment. But boy, there's a moment where I was like, yeah, guess what? No one's going to make me laugh tonight.
Yeah.
You know? And you did.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, you know, Pooh stories do that. They just, they take up an hour, you know, you go down that road. Like, it's an hour's gone.
You think it's going to be 20 minutes.
But, but Dan, it's funny that you say that, because I'm at my mom's house right now and we're cleaning out stuff. And she was like, oh, you know, I want you to take a look at this stuff in this trunk if you want any of it. And it was all the books that I used to get when I was a kid, all the comics. And I used to get, they were all Peanuts books and they were all Doonesbury books.
Yeah.
And the reason why those were my first books was my library. Those were the only comics they had were Doonesbury and Charles Schultz. And so I just bought as many of those as I could. And I'm psyched now that we have a bunch of them at home for my kids already, but I was just saying, hey boys, check it out. There's plenty more.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, no, just all that Schultz, Watterson,
Right.
Chuck Jones, of course. Parliament Funkadelic albums is another huge thing. British comedy. There's so many. My cousin Joel. There's so many influences, but
You can
yeah,
feel them all when you watch that trailer for Woke. It's just like, oh, this is going to be good because you can feel the richness of that palette all the way through.
I love to hear that, and I really appreciate that because that's all I wanted to do was just capture the essence of it. Even if the characters are a little different, the names are different or whatever. If it's about making people laugh and making people think, and that's what I do. So,
Where did Butter and Toast come from?
Toast and Butter, we were like, it was funny because we were just talking about, we got to come up with this like very milk toast strip, and we were like, okay, milk toast and butter. And it's funny now that I say it, and someone else was talking to me about it. It would have been funny if the syndicate were like, okay, we want to add another character. We want to add milk, so it's milk toast and butter. That would have been a good line to put in there. But I know that there's the milk and cheese, dairy products gone bad. Have you ever seen that?
Evan
comic?
Dorkin,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so I probably shouldn't step on Evan Dorkin's toes. But yeah, we just were thinking about the most, lamest strip that we could come up with, and it was toast and butter. And it's funny if this all fails, I'm sure a syndicate will approach me and go, "We really like toast and butter. Can you do a real strip about toast and butter?"
Right.
Awesome. I think we're all out of time. So Keith, obviously Hulu, September 9th, and you want to give your social and website?
Oh yeah, sure. kchronicles.com, and I'm also on Patreon under Keith Knight, KEEF KNIGHT, and check out the show, enjoy it, and somewhere down the line, I am gonna do these sort of watch-alongs where I tell everybody about all the different stuff that's going on.
Cool.
But everyone has to watch the series like 5 times first, so we can get a second season.
Ophira, what do you have coming up?
Plenty of new episodes of Ask Me Another. Hooray! And they release every Friday. And
I want to be on that.
You know what? I can make that happen.
It's I love that. I just feel like I feel like I can answer the questions when I'm listening to it, but I feel like when I'm on the show that I would just like blank out on everything and just be the worst contestant ever. But
no, I'm gonna make sure you succeed. That's my job.
I'm willing to take the chance. To take the chance.
That's good. That's a good attitude. See, if you come in wanting to win, do you win? No.
Yeah. No, listen, if I was a disaster, I just don't want to be average. I either want to be really great or just terrible.
Okay.
Wow, remember that guy? Oh,
Great.
Dan, when is the poop episode of the moth that you were alluding to coming out?
That was another show that's not the moth. I can't talk about the show that's not the moth at the moment.
Okay.
There's a lot of typing and a lot of recording and a lot of Zoom calls at the moment, and a lot of me poking my head out that door right there to see if there are any bears.
Wait, does it involve a friend of mine? Can I give? You can't say.
Breaking up, and I can't hear.
All right. Everybody, thanks so much. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully we're going to do one of these in the near future, and we'll take it out with the full-length trailer of Woke.